Hi, I'm Steven Richards, ID 100458273.
Hi, my name is Selena Daly. My student number is 100558926.
This is with our third partner have recorded a video as well. So he has a separate video attached to us because he couldn't meet us at this time, but this is our combined video with that, and this is the project. So um, to implement Bloom, you need to take a bright path, which is, as you see here, we'll get any bright images within the screen, and I take that color. So Bloom is implemented in three stages. So you first need to get the bright path, which gets all the bright colors in the scene and highlights them. Um, you then need to blur that bright path by using a Gaussian blur. And then you combine both of those two together to get bloom. So we use a bright path that gets all the bright in the scene as you've seen below. Then we get a blur bright path that now blurs the entire screen to get the blur bright path, and then we implement bloom. And as you see with bloom, you can see all the highlights. All the bright spots are lit up like it should be when you implement bloom. And yeah, I'm just gonna actually I'll go over that in a second. Selena, you want to go over?
The pixel one.
Yep.
Okay, so to implement this pixel effect, 8-bit pixel effect for our game, we used another frame buffer object, and we basically implemented another shader code, and inside that shader code, we used the identity kernel matrix instead of like a Gaussian blur kernel to get this type of effect to our screen. Okay. I'll show the kernel later. And then for this wonderful bokeh, it was awful. Okay, so it's not working perfectly, but at certain like times when the light hits the objects just right, you can actually see the bokeh effect. I found some code online by David Hoskins, and I modified that code to get it working into our game here. And it's not the best look, but it's functioning, and that's what we needed for this assignment. So there's that. Okay, so did you want to still show the code, Steve?
Yeah, I'm just gonna go over the code quickly.
Okay.
Let's see, where is it? So in our bright path, we basically take our data, we take our sample texture from our frame buffer, and we calculate the bright pixels by taking the bloom threshold, which is how much we actually want it to bloom, like how like the percentage of the color we want to see in screen, as you see below here, that we actually want to get for like the actual color. Then we take a Gaussian blur, which basically, as you see in the screen, blurs the entire object. There's multiple ways to do it. In here, we just multiply it by a weight factor with the box blur, which gets us the Gaussian blur. And the weights are shown below. Depending on how much blur you want on the screen, the weights can differ. And depending how you implement Gaussian blur, they can actually differ as well. And then afterwards, all you're doing is taking your bright and your scene, you combine them together, and you sample from them to get your actual bloom. So did you want to show the 8-bit stuff in the Boker, or?
Yeah, we can go over that quickly. So 8-bit one first. So the 8-bit one is sort of similar to the Gaussian blur, but instead of the Gaussian blur kernel, we're using the the identity matrix kernel. So you see that all values except for the middle pixel basically is set to 0, and then having the center as 1 is what gives you the pixel-like look. And I guess we can like breeze through the bokeh one. Okay, yeah, so lots of commented out stuff, trying to make stuff work. Okay, so I guess start at the main, and then we'll work our way back into the function. Okay, so first we have a time variable here. So that's basically what we're getting, what we're using to give it the effect of the bokeh like circles or objects. It increases and shrinks in size, and that's what we need this time value for. And below we also have the radius, which is being multiplied by that time value. So that's what makes it look like it's growing and shrinking. And then we pass that into our bokeh function, which needs our sampler 2D, text chords, and the radius. And then in the actual function here, we have the accumulation, radius, the div, and an angle. And I'm not sure, like, I don't understand 100% all of this math, but I understand, like, what, like, most of the stuff that's happening. So we're going to, like, do 150 iterations of, like, looping through to get our bokeh effect. And I found that the higher you go, the smoother the effect looks. But if you drop it down to like 10, it looks it's not smooth, and it's very like sharp edges and everything. So that's why I have that set to a high value. Okay, so yeah, I have the contrast like commented out because I don't know, like just to make it simpler, and it looked better in my opinion. And we have this, what is this one here? That's our values from sampling the image. Have that going to the power of 15. The lower this value is, what happens the lower this value is? Okay, if this value, yeah, the lower the value is, the less of the effect you see actually happen on screen when you output the values. And then we have the accumulation here and the div, and then we just basically return the accumulation by div to get our fragment color for what we're going to be showing on screen.
Okay.
And that's basically it.
Thank you.